Welcome to Just the Who of Us, hosted by Reah Higgs. This is a space for honest, thoughtful conversations around mental health, life journeys, holistic wellnesses, and the experiences that shape who we are. Take a breath, settle in, and join Reah and today's guests as we explore the stories that connect us.
I've
Gosh.
I've got some new. I'm working on some very exciting new offerings that I was up late. I've developed a love. I'm in love with Claude. I don't know if you ever used the AI Claude. And whoever he is, there's much more personal response than I also use Grok.com, which is a
Hmm.
very um, less personalized, but very good with facts and information and laying things
Oh.
out. I mean, sometimes I will work with both of them just to kind of compare.
Hmm.
I was up late last night in a relationship with Claude. I want to have it's like a membership. That's probably rather than subscription, a membership, an annual
Mm.
membership, so that I will be doing once a month 90-minute calls discussing the topics from the Women of the Always book. So that's designed specifically for women, and
Hmm.
and and so I've got all the format and that laid out, and then I want to do a same thing one once a month for rune, not really readings, but uh, tapping into the vibrational information of the rune wisdom. So I
Hmm.
put some of this stuff in for Claude. And what was so funny is I asked, well, is there any feeling of a symbol or a picture, some type of an image that I could perhaps use that really represents this deep work that I do. I do a lot of work below the surface in the roots. The runes are that way. And so blah, blah, blah list. And then he said, he said, he's like, I'm really talking to a person. Um,
Mr.
he
Claude
said,
said.
Claude said, my kids are going to think I'm crazy. Claude said that the best that he felt, we have to laugh with this, that listed several, the a moon doesn't work for you because you don't want to use the new age jargon. And what I see that is about the depth and the, what all that you do is a single vertical line, not too thin and not too thick, and just a
Hmm.
single vertical line. And what is so brilliant is that in the runic symbols, there's only one symbol that is a single vertical line, and it's the rune for ice. Isa, it's called, and it's the rune for ice. And because all the rune shapes are single lines, all the rune shapes technically fit into an Isa because you just lay the lines in there. So in the poems that I wrote years ago for the rune work, what I say is Isa, home to all the runes.
Mm.
And it was so, when that popped up and I read that and I thought, wow, how simple,
Yeah.
just how simple. And yet it really, and so I said, I see it on the page, like on a book cover. Here's the book cover, and it's just this single black line, but not all the way on the page. And so it starts a little bit above midline is how I see it, and then extends toward the bottom of the cover, which is indicative of the rooting, that
All right.
going down
Yeah.
rather than going up. And so what it reminded me of is Rick Rubin has a book. He's a famous record producer, Rick Rubin, and he wrote a book about creativity recently. And on the cover is just this circle with a dot in the middle, and it's so
Hmm.
simple, but it's so all encompassing. That's like you see some shape and you think, wow, that just like means everything. Well,
Yeah.
so here is what I printed out from Claude. was
Yeah.
he put the single line on the text for using on my website. And it was just one of those, like, I'm drinking a little whiskey last night. It's really late. I had a bad day the day before because it was the anniversary of my mom's death, and I was just really kind of feeling around with that. And
Yeah.
she died 9 years. She would have been 100 years old. She died 9 years ago. But I'm sitting there, and then this guy, this artificial intelligence guy says, a single vertical line, a black line, is what represents you. You can't make that stuff up.
Right. But I like it though. It's so, like you said, like it's simple, but it also
Mhm.
has this deep meaning,
Yeah,
which makes it so perfect.
yeah. Well, it really is, and it was my younger of my two sons he keeps up with technology. He's really in the world of a lot of big business, a lot of money. That's the nature of the work he does. And he's
Mhm.
always encouraging me. He said, Mom, yep, the people are against capitalism and against greed and all of that and technology, but like people were afraid to use electricity or they were afraid to have a telephone and
That's
that
fair.
there's always I mean, we couldn't do what we do here
That's true. Yeah.
without the technology. And it's a tool. It's like anything else. We can abuse it, we can use it, we can curse it, and we can praise it. And I hope you're recording this. This is just
Yeah,
brilliant.
yeah, yeah. Of course.
As I've gotten older, and I'm really in the last part of my life, and I'm seeing all of us who are older. We're seeing things that are so different for us. I mean, it's the people born in the since 2000,
Hmm.
not anything new. So a lot of older people, they don't, well, I don't use that, or I don't trust that, or it's taking away our intelligence, or there's all this pushback, which it's important to be cautious, but it's also important to be willing to have electricity in our home.
Hmm.
Like you watch the Downton Abbey series, and when they went away from the candles and they had the gas light lamps, but some of them were that period of time, they were so resistant to riding in a car
Yeah. Yeah.
or having being able to turn on an electric light. And who knows, the whole thing may collapse in my lifetime or afterward, or maybe not. We don't know what's going on.
I think you make a good point. It has the potential to go either way, right? As with anything that we overuse and tend to abuse,
Mhm.
it could go the other way. My daughter and I had an interesting conversation. It's a very brief conversation, but she's 17. Her friends are 16 and 17. And the conversations that they've been having is you shouldn't use AI. It's using too much water. It's going to use up all of our water source. And I thought it was interesting because they are concerned for the planet instead of being like, oh, yeah, this makes things, they're teenagers. And a lot of times we kind of can forget that teenagers pay attention to the things they do. And it was really interesting to hear them talk about that in a manner of, like, this is taking away our natural source and we don't want to do that. Although, yeah, it might make some things easier, which was a really interesting and very valid point. Um, I when I first heard of Chat GPT, um, I tried it out for a little bit. I was using more so for like image creation, for projects that I'm working on. And anytime I use really any source, when it comes to work that I'm doing, ever since I was in college, I'm very picky, very particular. I want things to be scholarly, reputable sources. And, even when it's like, if I'm trying to figure out what I'm saying,
Mhm.
I want to make sure it comes from a valuable source. And so I played around with ChatGPT. My husband gave me some information. I'm not one to just listen to anything anyone says, but he is a very, like, he does his thorough research. So when he comes to me with something, I'm like, okay, I hear your points. And so he gave me some information, and I was like, let's veer away from ChatGPT
Mhm.
specifically. It's more of kind of political affiliations, and
Right.
political backing and things like that. And I was like, I don't really want to be a part of that. So I looked into other things, and I know anything that is financially well supported is probably going to have some questionable people around it, right?
Yep. Yep.
So it's one of those things that kind of like, okay, there might not be a perfect solution, but I looked at Claude, and I looked at there's one that starts with an I.
Yeah, I don't know.
Um, and I just kind of compare, and I would ask ChatGPT and Claude and the other one the same question, and they would
Mhm.
all give me different answers, which was
Yeah.
interesting. Not to say that that's a bad thing at all, because really we should look for multiple sources for things, for information. But it gave me different angles. So I was like, okay, they're all about $20 a month. Which one do I want to pay for?
Mhm.
That's what I was really trying to figure out. Come to find out that I already paid, I have Copilot, which is already included in other stuff I have, unlimited version, you know. And I'm like, I'm sitting here shopping around, and I already have something that I can use for free.
Yeah.
So, so
Oh,
that's
that's
what I
funny.
use. I use Copilot, and I'll use it for more for structural things.
Right.
And it'll be like, "Hey, do you want me to write this for you?" And I'm like, "No,
Uh-huh.
stop it.
No. Right.
Slow down."
Well, and this I think is also this is discernment.
Hmm.
I love that word because it means to sort something, to
Yeah.
dump out a whole bunch of beans on the table and then discern the differences in the shape, size, color. And I think I mean, I've always gone to just Google and say, what's the difference between this word and this word? Because I'm a word person, and I oftentimes want to, well, this, what's the difference between mentoring or apprenticing? You know,
Hmm.
is it an apprenticeship or is this a mentorship? So
Yeah.
I've always, as long as I've used the computer, gone in and asked questions, uh, and using entomology online. I don't know. I'm not saying words. Um, just to get a little more information, because in the past I grew up in a family where my mom saved money every month to buy encyclopedias for us. You could
I love that.
the laundry soap. Now we were living on on the edge of a little farm in Northern California, but my mom loved to read and she loved books, and she would buy things from this delivery company. It was called Jewel Tea, capital
Hmm.
T. They bring laundry soap and canned goods and things because she didn't drive and we were out in the country.
Yeah.
But through that, she saved up these coupons, and we had a set of encyclopedias.
Uh-huh.
It was really unheard of, but that was something I grew up with, is like, if I wanted to know something, I'd look in the encyclopedia.
Yes.
Well, even that, when you think back, and even that wasn't unbiased.
Right.
I I mean, we really have to just keep looking and comparing and discerning and holding a place for a bigger conversation that's not so limited. And just for example, I almost always wear black clothing. That's just my style. Regular laundry detergent fades the colors because it's designed to brighten and whiten and all of that, even if it's
Right.
not bleach.
Yeah.
And so I was looking online because I haven't had much success in the grocery store here for laundry. I know there's laundry detergents that are specifically for black and dark colored clothing.
Yeah.
I typed into Amazon, to see what was suggested. I typed in Amazon laundry detergents for blacks. No, I was not. I'm not kidding you. That because I thought, well, I'll abbreviate instead of for black clothing. Now, I kid you not, all this laundry soap about odor removal, it was nothing about black clothing.
Yeah.
And there was even like this remove strong, it was called downwind. This is real laundry soap, downwind for hunters and and people that are out in the woods and
Oh,
so even in that, like innocence and simplicity, if I like soap for black clothing, but because I said blacks,
yeah.
it was limiting. I
Right.
mean, we can make it mean whatever we want, but it was just for
Right.
what?
Yeah.
There's no way there really is no way to escape it other than pay attention to what's actually happening. That's
That is very true.
the
Yeah.
feeling I have. And just to be aware of. Also, it's very easy to become self-righteous in our discerning what's good and what's bad, what's moral, what's immoral, and then stand on the platform of that, which is meaningful for integrity and our own intention of like how we want to live, our principles.
Yeah.
It's never always 100%.
Right.
And it's never a way to feel superior to someone else. Might disagree. You might think that whatever they do is harmful and takes away rights, because that's true about anything, everything. So
Yeah.
to be informed, well informed, and broadly informed, so that you come back to like, well, where's my voice?
Yes.
Who am I? And I may not like your, politics. And I may not like your choice of religion,
Right.
but that's not my business. How you choose to do that, unless you're intentionally, standing in front of me with a gun or something.
Right. That's very fair. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and just to I think that's also to teach our young, the children and then the teenagers of like, it's okay to have we need to have strong opinions. We need to have a foundation that we stand on.
Yeah.
And that can also be harmful to us if we don't allow for other people to have strong opinions and to stand on their own foundation, and then find a way to dialogue rather than to argue.
Oh, but that's a really big point that you make right there, because I think that, I enjoy talking to people, and I've had conversations with people who have a difference in opinion, and the goal is to discuss and have conversations and not force or change anyone's mind, or whatever the case may be. I was at a Pride event here in Salisbury a couple of years ago, and there was one or two men, I think it was father and son. They were silent protesting. Cool. But and people around me got kind of nervous because I walked up to him. I was volunteering there. So I don't, if, in case anyone's not familiar with, it was Salisbury Pride, which is similar to Charlotte Pride, which a lot of states have their own individual, Pride festivals. And it is a celebration of Pride Month for people in the community to have this festival, to come together. They have all kinds of vendors. It's a really fun event. So I was volunteering there. And so I had on my volunteer shirt, and so I walked over to the silent protesters, and they were super respectful, and I just had a conversation with them. And we both like were fine. We were having a conversation. He was there in the name of his religion, which is fine. He has the right to be. But I loved the fact that they, unlike another group, I mean, this other group, a group came in, they had their signs, you're going to hell, and they were walking through the festival and everything. And I was like, there's so many feelings that I have around this because I don't feel like we go stand out in front of bars and other things, right? And like scream and yell the way people do at Pride and some clinics.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, well, if you're going to scream and yell at one group of people, you should be screaming and yelling at everybody if that's the case. It's so like, but that's a whole nother conversation. But I had this conversation with him and I said, I'm just curious as to what you feel about this festival and the need to be here standing in protest. By the way, I appreciate how you are composing yourself and how you're not attacking anyone.
Yeah.
And they told me why. And I say, I respect it. And they asked me, they asked, of course, if I affiliate with the religion and everything. And their kind of stance as a Christian was the festival being called Pride and boasting, being boastful with pride and things like that. And I explained, I said, well, maybe pride it's a particular word, right? But the pride in the pride festivals is not being boastful about your quote unquote sin, if that's how you choose to view it. The pride in pride is for people to be prideful about who they are
Yeah.
as human beings. That is the pride behind Pride Month, behind the Pride festivals and all the things. It's not Christian pride or sinful pride. It is the pride that we are allowed to have within ourselves of being who we are as people who are not hurting anyone, but simply existing. And they were a little kind of, they didn't really agree, but that was okay. We agreed to disagree. And I was like, I appreciate this conversation. I could tell that people around me were kind of like, and there were a couple other volunteers that were kind of just standing by because I guess people don't do that. People don't have those kinds of conversations in those kind of environments, And I was like, it's okay. If we're just having a conversation, no one's fighting, no one's arguing, no one's, and we have a good day, you too. And I went back to volunteering, but, I think that we should be able to have those conversations. And I think the reason that a lot of people can't, is because they don't practice discernment in their information, the people they surround themselves, whatever the case may be. I think that if we all just went into conversations as conversations and not dictations, that we could have more conversations.
Then there's a neutrality in the sense that if I want to be at the celebration, the gathering, and there's a group that is in opposition to or standing there holding their space, I have to really truth tell to myself first and say, what is my intention with going to them and engaging in conversation? Because oftentimes the intention is that you're going to convince them that they're wrong and that you're right. That's not neutral. And maybe in asking questions like, tell me, why are you here? Tell me, what do you stand for that feels like it's different from or in opposition to this? I'm not asking them questions to convince them that what I do is right. I'm asking questions to open up and see if there's an understanding. And a lot of times if someone asks me a question and I really think about it, then I have to go into self and say, what do I really believe, or why am I standing here? And that's a very different way to be. But it's like the the missionary, the conversation that the missionary engages in has an agenda because it's not neutral. I'm here in this place, different country, maybe different people, maybe not. I'm here with the intention of convincing you that how you live and what you believe is wrong or sinful, and I want you to change your ways because I have the truth and you don't.
Yes.
And so that missionary zeal that so often comes from that baseline of religion, and religion that teaches, that is moralizing and doing good and evil and right and wrong, that kind of thing. To the basis of that makes it necessary as you go in. You're not just talking to people. You're talking to people who you believe are wrong.
Yeah.
And your intention in talking with them is to convince them that you have the truth.
Right. Yeah.
And I think that's people don't want to hear that because we become so positional of we make a virtue. We make it virtuous. The difference between someone who chooses, let's say, to eat a vegetable-based diet and not eating meat or fish or animal products, whatever, who make that decision because they feel their health is better, they feel it's better for the planet, whatever that their reason is very different than when you come across a person who's turned that into, I'm more spiritual than you are.
Right.
Because I eat vegetables and you eat meat. And so my spiritual level, my heightened spiritual awareness makes me better than or superior to you.
Right.
Because you choose to eat meat. And then, so that then I think is also about going back to self, and I use the exercise even in the Women of Always book, the chapter on truth. Not that anybody has the truth or exclusive right to it, just to ask yourself the question, if I'm really honest with myself, if I'm really truthful with myself, what's my intention behind this engagement? What do I expect an outcome? Do I expect that person to change?
Yeah.
Wanting them to be somebody else? And is that really, does that make me any better than, or are we now all of a sudden on the same level?
Yeah.
And more coming to people out of curiosity and saying, well, tell me, why would you feel a need to cover your face and your head when you're out in public? And just doesn't make sense to me. I don't know if I could live that way. Tell me how it is how do you feel? What is it? What's the meaning behind covering yourself? And it's, and if somebody says, well, that's because my religion teaches it, or the prophet teaches it, or my husband demands it, doesn't make it right or wrong. Again, it's just connecting with that, let's say, that woman, to understand what. And I've had a woman when we lived in the Netherlands, and the Muslim woman covered, and she would walk her children to the same school that I would walk my children to. And she said, well, I feel safe when I'm out in public because I'm covered. I don't have to feel. I mean, that was for her.
Yeah.
At home, she takes it off, because then we started visiting with each other, and because our kids went to school together, and it was this place where she just was genuine. She was a really beautiful spirit of self, and she said, I feel safe when I go out in public.
Right.
I would have not thought of that.
No, but I get it.
Yes. I mean, we could, and on that level, I wouldn't choose it. I don't know why she chooses it. That's not my business.
Right.
And as woman to woman, mother to mother, whatever, I could hear what she said.
Absolutely.
And another example, I teach workshop called Is Your Life a Walled City? And in that I bring up historically there were women called anchoresses that were like nuns that served the church. And an anchoress would be varying degrees of it, but they asked to be walled up. They would build these special rooms that they actually were like bricked in, and they had a window for getting their food, a window for taking their waste out, and a window for doing prayers and confession and so on. It's quite fascinating to study anchoresses in the medieval times. And you died in there. So that was you were in service to God. And you walled yourself off from the world so that you could do prayer and song and writing and all of that. So in teaching this workshop and bringing this up, and over again, the woman is like, oh my goodness, that just sounds terrible. It'd be like being in jail, being in prison, which is how I feel. You just kill me before you kill me. If you're going to wall me up, kill me. And this one woman, and it was so for me, just again, like, I have to also learn. Her comment to that was, she said, oh my goodness, that sounds so freeing. I wouldn't have to worry about anything in of the world other than just doing my writing and doing my prayers. Now, I don't know about you, but that just makes me feel claustrophobic, that I'm going to be walled up in the side of the church, and then when I die, they just close up the windows.
Yeah.
This woman went into this beautiful place of freedom.
Yeah.
Everybody in the group, there's like, what? And then there's this back almost in wanting to argue or to convince her why what she said couldn't be true.
Yeah.
And so I think this is also, we miss so much when we go in with an agenda, an intention to make that person wrong or to convince them that our way is right or to argue, rather than going in and saying, explain to me. I want to really know. I'm not trying to change you. I want to know how does that feel? What joy does it bring you, or how does it make your life different? Because we're just not, we all think we're right.
Right. But you're very right.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I'm right. Well, but it's an observation. This again, somebody else could have something else, and we could say, well, I would never kill someone, or I would. But you know what? We can't say never, and we shouldn't say always, because until you face something, you don't know.
I agree.
And I think you and I've kind of discussed that maybe in one other talk, is that I loved being pregnant. I loved having babies. I love my children. I can sit here and say, I would never have had an abortion. That's an Ingrid, oh, I never would. That comes from the place of being a mother and all of that. So it's in and of itself, it isn't truthful, because I never had to face a situation where it might have been necessary for me to do that.
Right.
Face a situation of being raped, or perhaps my life is in danger. So for me to make that statement, it's a statement. It's true for what I feel, but it doesn't hold any meaning, because I never really had to face it. Oh, I would never kill somebody.
Right.
I've never had to face a situation perhaps where I needed to kill someone to protect my child or to keep myself safe. The principle is I wouldn't take someone else's life.
Right.
In principle, but then that's just me saying something that's in the moment true for me, but doesn't really carry any weight until you're actually standing face to face. I don't, I mean, you might say, I would, I would never have an abortion. I know that's real controversial for everybody. It's more about I stand in a place where I would hope that everybody had a choice to do what they felt was right or
Yeah.
necessary in a circumstance that's in the moment. And it's a different way of being.
Yeah. I have had more pregnancies that have children by choice. I mean, those pregnancies didn't all succeed both by choice and by medical necessity. And so, and there was a point in my life where I would say I'd never do that. I'd never have an abortion. I'd never,
Yeah.
I could never attempt to kill anybody. I could never.
Yeah.
But I've also been in a situation where I've not killed anybody,
It's okay.
but I have had to use a weapon to defend myself from being hurt. And so, and I also have had an abortion. So, I've also had medical, like an emergency surgery that ended a pregnancy. And I didn't even really, I mean, I had a choice in the sense, but it was like, hey, you want to do this right now or die? And I'm like, well, I don't want to die. I have children already. So, and then there was another more thought out situation. And being fully transparent, it was kind of a form of birth control. Now, I wasn't very far along, but if we're being realistic, it was because the situation surrounding how I got pregnant wasn't planned to get pregnant, and we thought we took precaution, but they don't always work and blah, blah, blah. I already had kids. I wasn't in a financial position. I can list the reasons, but I don't feel like women should use abortion as birth control. And that is I mean, if we're being technical, I guess I did, so it's one of those things where it's like, may that be a little hypocritical? I felt my reason was valid in the moment, and I know some people do too. So it's like I would never say whether someone has an abortion or not is not my business. I would never say
Right. Yeah.
It's my opinion that you should or shouldn't do this, that you should or shouldn't have one. And I've had conversations from other people where it's an option, and my go-to is what is best for you. What is your reason? Think about these things. Don't just listen to people who are fully opposed, because we're not leaving ourselves open for conversation, and we're not. I think after being in school for psychology and then again for counseling really made me open my perspective of a lot of things, because I learned how the mind works. I learned more how people work, and learning that, and also, how to listen and conversate with people who have gone through difficult things. But I think that learning, kind of going deep into the mind and how it works, really taught me a lot about perspective. Also, being a mother to young adults and teenagers, because it's easy to have our stances on things, but then when we really listen to people who are younger than us, and we remember that, oh, if I look at it through the eyes of this person, completely separate from me in their lived experience, I can see how this would be my formed opinion.
Yeah.
I think that's really important when we're talking to other people, when we're listening to other people, when we're parenting, when, we're out in the world, is that unless you're a bad driver, then you deserve to get yelled at. But anyway, is to really consider the fact that other people have different experiences than us.
Yeah.
And those, just like our experiences form our opinions, their experiences form theirs. And we don't always have to agree with other people's opinions. But we can really remember in the back of our minds that, hey, people think what they think because of their experience.
Hmm.
Are some things worth discussing and maybe giving them a different perspective? If their opinion is harmful to people, and I mean really harmful, I don't mean like different than yours. I mean actually harmful to society, you know, then okay, maybe there's a conversation worth having to give them another perspective. But just because someone, I mean, even politically, just because someone disagrees with me politically doesn't mean I have to be against them.
Hmm. Really thinking, coming from the place of being a grandma myself,
Right.
and that's for you too, that as a young girl, being frustrated with my mother or thinking that she wasn't doing anything right or being estranged, and
Yeah.
how as I changed because I became a mother.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say that for that, my becoming a mother and then becoming a grandmother changed my life, changed the way I view things, and in that also changed what I thought or how my beliefs or arguments with my mom.
Yeah.
I now had a different perspective, and I was able to understand choices she made or how she did or didn't do something from the place of my changing. And I think that this is also important, that many times what we're doing is an accident of birth. That's what I say.
Mm-hmm.
You're a Christian or you're, a Muslim. It's an accident of birth because you were born into that family
Right.
at that time in that country with that spiritual structure.
Right.
And that unless somebody really analyzes it and has a different way of looking at it or wants to change something, they may be in that political place or that religious place their whole life.
Yeah.
If you had
Yeah.
been born into a different family, you maybe would have had a different belief system. So
Right.
that's also, I think, what happens is that very often we become so positional and so right and so self-righteous and such a missionary zeal
Yeah.
that uh, we're going to convince somebody that this is the one and only true way to do things.
Right.
I mean, you can say that about any religion. This is the one and only true religion, but then the
Yeah.
history of that faith has just as much violence and bloodshed and corruption
Right.
as it's not having it. So
Yes.
I think that I really think that this is much more moment by moment, you standing in the truthfulness of like, who am I?
Yeah. Yeah.
And what's important to me? And when I go home at the end of the day, how do I feel about the people that I've talked to, or the interactions, or the smile, or, the kindness to each other? And if we can't do it in our communities, we're out there thinking we can change the world, but you have to change it by, like what you did, have a conversation with somebody standing at a protest, in
Mm-hmm.
protest, and it was meaningful for them,
Yeah. I believe so. Yeah.
and it was
Yeah.
meaningful for you.
Very much
And
so.
yeah, so it's just it's not being passive. I don't think it's like, oh, I'm just roll over and play dead for everything, because I'm not that. I'm very opinionated. I'm dogmatic, and just that different place of like, that's just me. That's how I feel, and I that might change tomorrow
Right. Yeah.
because I became a mother, or because I became a grandmother, or because I killed somebody with my car. I mean, we don't know.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
might choose, if you had something like that, something like that happen, you might choose to never drive again.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And that wouldn't be right or wrong. It just might be how you find a way to live with something that happened.
Yes. Yeah. But we all do that, right? Like
Yes. Yeah.
to any degree, whether it be on a very small scale or on a bigger scale, like you said, of not driving after experiencing a trauma in a car or a vehicle, you know, I think we all do that. Experiencing certain things as a child, there are certain things that we do as an adult to try to avoid experiencing that again.
Yeah.
Sometimes it kind of closes us off to opportunities, and sometimes it doesn't, you know?
Yeah.
So it's just, everybody goes through things. We all handle things the way we handle them. Thank you for being here. Let everyone listening know where they can find you.
My website is my name, ingridkincaid.com, and you can find out about the books I've written, the new program, membership program I'm offering.
Or you can just put her name into Claude or Copilot or, something.
Or ChatGPT. What did you call? What was the other one? Copilot. Just type me in. You will find out more about me. And
That's right.
I have Substack. I have Instagram. I'm out there.
Thank you for spending this time with us on Just the Who of Us. We hope today's conversation offered reflection, comfort, or a moment of clarity. If this episode resonated with you, feel free to share it with someone who may need it. Until next time, take care of yourself and remember, you're not alone in the journey.